Welcome to Barca News. It is April 20th, 2026, and Eduardo Conceicao awaiting Barcelona's offer. Also, Bradley Barcola has been offered to Barcelona. And finally, Alejandro Balde. Sources in England saying that he could be getting a big offer from Aston Villa. We're going to talk about that as well. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bo. Welcome to the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people, my Barca News family, by reading your comments and reacting to them live. So start filling out the chat section with your comments, your questions, anything you have on your mind so we can get this going. Now, for those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news, even though I'd recommend against it because a lot of times the discussion ends up being better than the actual news. So make sure you watch the whole thing. Now, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys, merchandise, kits, whatever, Barcelona related or football related or even sports related, you can head to Fanatics or Kitbag. And if you're looking for it to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description and click on them. You get access to some pretty cool deals and offers courtesy of Barca News. And finally, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All this helps the channel continue to grow. All right, let's begin with the news. And the first segment, not only is it comprised of multiple bits of news, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about because this weekend was interesting. This weekend was interesting because a lot of things happened. Some of it made me happy, but at the same time, it kind of made me sad. And I'll tell you why. Now, the first thing I want to talk about that made me happy, but at the same time made me sad was, you might be aware by now, maybe not, but Real Sociedad, ladies and gentlemen, defeated Atlético de Madrid in the Copa del Rey final in penalties. And as such, Real Sociedad are now champions of the Copa del Rey with El Cholo Simeone doing what he does best, which is choking. Yes, choking is his thing. Now, if you didn't watch the match or you didn't watch the highlights, it pretty much started this way. Atletico Madrid began the first half completely asleep. My God, I've never seen a team start a final the way or as bad as Atletico Madrid did. Just completely sleep at the wheel. I don't think anyone told these players that it was a final. I think they thought they were, I don't know, at a warm-up session, preseason match. I don't know. But they started completely sleep at the wheel. Real Sociedad, 15 seconds, maybe even less, they score the first goal. Lookman ties it. It's 1-1. And right by the end of the first half, Real Sociedad get a penalty. It's 2-1. They go to the halftime. Second half, absolutely abysmal. Real Sociedad parked the bus. They start playing like a second division team. Atletico Madrid, they tried. But of course, being a team led by Simeone, who all he knows how to do is play like a second division team, which is park the bus and look for long passes. When it was their turn to attack, to be brave, to look for opportunities, it just didn't work because that's not what they're used to. So we had an Atletico Madrid who was consistently trying and a Real Sociedad that looked like a pathetic second division team. And of course, the match, I think 86th minute, Atletico Madrid tie it. It's 2-2. They get two clear chances. What's his name? Baena gets one. This other guy, curly hair, I don't give a fuck, also gets another opportunity. Pretty much part of empty goal, empty net. They both miss. It goes to extra halves. More pathetic football for 30 minutes. And then finally goes to penalties. Sorloth, Julian Alvarez missed their penalties. And Real Sociedad end up being champions of the Copa del Rey. Now, this is where I say, on one hand, I was happy. On the other hand, I got sad. Why was I happy? Well, because fuck El Cholo Simeone and fuck Atletico Madrid, right? I was very happy that they lost. I was happy that Real Sociedad beat them and that Atletico Madrid did what they did best, which is choke. Why was I sad? Because I feel like this was a guaranteed trophy for Barca. Because Real Sociedad were absolutely pathetic. They looked like a second division team. And if Barcelona had made it to the final, 100% this final would have ended 5-0, maybe even more in favor of Barcelona. And we could be right now celebrating another trophy. This is why I was sad. I was also sad because I can't believe that Atletico Madrid that I saw choke against Real Sociedad is the same team that knocked us out of 2 competitions, especially when you take into consideration that we've played 6 times against Atletico Madrid. We've won 4 times. 4 out of the 6 matches we won, they only won 2, and yet it was enough to knock us out of 2 competitions. And seeing how badly they played in that final, again, I don't understand how we blew that up. I think we're the ones to blame because the first leg of the semifinals, the team was completely asleep, just like Atletico Madrid were asleep during the first half of the final. So that's why, on one hand, I was happy that Atletico choked and lost. On the other hand, I was sad because I was like, yo, looking at this quality of the final, pathetic quality from both teams, I was like, this could have been a guaranteed trophy for Barca. Second news that happened over the weekend that also made me sad. I don't know if you know this, but Man City beat Arsenal and pretty much blew up the Premier League. Now, for the longest time, Arsenal looked like they were going to be champions. They had a huge lead up top, and now Man City defeated them 2-1. And with that, the Premier League is wide open because Arsenal are only 3 points ahead of Man City with 1 more match. So Man City have 1 less match. So if Man City win that match that they haven't played yet, they could be tied on points. Absolutely crazy. Why did this make me sad? Because seeing how Arsenal are choking, they've already choked 2 finals. They're out of 2 trophies that they could have won out. Looks like they're going to choke in the Premier League. And then there's the Champions League. And honestly, given the level of Arsenal right now, because this is not the same Arsenal as the group stages from the Champions League. This is a completely different Arsenal. This is an Arsenal that we all know and love. An Arsenal that starts out super strong and then nosedive. But seeing the level of Arsenal right now, had Barcelona made it to the semifinal, I think we would be through the final. And this is why this news also made me mad because, again, seeing Atletico versus Real Sociedad confirms that we could have easily won this Copa del Rey. And seeing Arsenal and how well they're choking, it confirms that we could have easily been in the final. Now, could we have won a Champions League? I don't know. Because PSG or Bayern are both very strong. Even though what I saw from Bayern versus Madrid tells me that we could easily compete against them. Well, not easily, but we could compete against them. PSG, different story because we played once this season and they beat us. But we could have at least made it to the final of the Champions League and we could have won the Copa del Rey final. It's an absolute shame that we got knocked out of both competitions because even making it to the final and losing still would have meant the bonus for making it to the semifinals and the bonus of making it to the final. Talk about another extra 30 mil in our pockets, maybe even more once you consider TV rights, ticketing, merchandising, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention we could at least have 1 more title, which is the Copa del Rey. So things that happened during this weekend that made me sad that I just wanted to share with you guys. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comment section or in the chat section if you're watching this live. Now, on to the next bit of news, because of course, just because we're eliminated out of the Champions League, it doesn't mean that the season is over, because of course, we are still alive in La Liga race title, and on Tuesday, well, La Liga resumes because Barcelona will be playing against Celta Vigo, and today the team resumed training in preparation of that match. Of course, that match will be played at the Camp Nou. Celta Vigo, usually a tough opponent for Barcelona, especially with Iago Aspas always turning into prime Messi whenever he plays against us. I don't understand it, but whatever. But the good news is we are playing at home. And so far in La Liga, we have been undefeated at the Camp Nou since the stadium reopened. Now, what's the news about this training? Well, a couple of things I want to talk about. First, Marc Bernal is still not training with the team. It was expected that Bernal could be out 2 to 3 matches. 2 matches, of course, being Atletico Madrid. First leg against Atletico Madrid in Champions League. And then, what was the midweek match? Was it Espanyol? I think it was Espanyol. That's 2 matches, 2 to 3. The third match is being Atletico Madrid again. So Bernal was either going to miss first leg of the quarterfinals and Espanyol, or first leg of the quarterfinals, Espanyol, and the second leg of the quarterfinals. But it seems that he's going to end up missing a fourth match, which is Celta Vigo on Wednesday. Now, this is not 100%, or Tuesday, sorry. Not 100% confirmed, but the match is tomorrow. And Bernal did not train with the team today. So, 99.9% chance that, well, he's not going to make it for tomorrow's match, which, of course, is bad news. But the good news is Frankie is back, so Bernal can take his time in recovering, because we do have Frankie that can cover that position right next to Pedri. The final thing I want to talk about today's training, Hansi Flick did not call up a single Barca Athletic player to train. And it's not because, as some people try to say, oh, Flick doesn't trust the youngsters. It's full of shit. The evidence is completely clear that he does. But anyways, that's not why Flick did not call up any Barca Athletic players. The reason why Barca Athletic right now are fully focused to qualify into the playoffs in order to get promoted to third division. So, in order to help Giuliano Belletti and his players qualify to that to those playoffs, Flick has decided not to call up any Barca Athletic players, so Giuliano Belletti can have all his players available to him, and they can all be fully focused on getting promoted from fourth to third division, which something we need it to happen. We need that to happen because that is a huge boost. Because remember, there's a lot of players that Barcelona signed from first divisions from weaker leagues. And usually trying to convince a player who's in a first division of, I don't know, Belgium or Sweden or something like that, it's a lot easier to convince someone who's already played in the first division to come and play in the third division for Barca Athletic with the hopes to get promoted to the first team versus trying to tell them, oh, you're going to go from first division to fourth, which is semi-professional. It's not really professional football. So right now, that's the goal for Barca Athletic. Hopefully, we can meet it because that's the way to continue signing and attracting young, promising talent. And it's also a way to keep young, promising talent. There's a lot of young, promising players who left after Barca Athletic got demoted to fourth division. All right. That is all for the first segment. Let's do some comments. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Eduardo Conceicao because we do have an update about someone who's considered the most promising player currently in Brazil. And DJ Callan says we need Conceição. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. Don't worry. I got you. And P4K Chema says, Mo, did you see that Patricio tore his ACL? Every time we try to promote a youngster, a damn injury appears. I am going to talk about Patricio in the next video, so stay tuned to the channel. As far as getting him promoted, that's not something that Flick was doing. He did call him up to 1 or 2 trainings, but we weren't there yet. You know, this wasn't a player that was ready to jump to the first team. Not yet, at least. Remember, he only arrived like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. So he's still adapting. Not there yet, but nonetheless, very unfortunate news in regards to Patricio Pacifico. And Waffles N says, Mo, clean the squad. Name 3 players you'd sell and 3 reasonable choices you think would be best to join Barca. All right, I like that. 3 players I would sell in a heartbeat. Ferran Torres, gots to go. Dani Olmo, gots to go. And Ronald Araujo, gots to go. Lewy, do not renew. Christensen, do not renew. I know you said 3, but you said 3 sell. Lewy and Christensen, we wouldn't be selling. We would just be letting them go without contract renewals. 3 players I would sign. We would need 1 per line. Bastoni for the defense. Well, actually, not 1 per line because our midfield is stacked. But Bastoni for the defense. We need a left winger. I would go with someone like Victor Munoz or Sheldrup. We need a center forward. I would go with someone like... This one's tough because there aren't a lot of options that we can afford. But, and I hate to say this because under any other circumstances, I wouldn't. But I think it would have to be for me... I think Vlahovic. And usually I would never say Vlahovic because I don't think Vlahovic is, under ideal circumstances, he would never be Barca level. But given our financial situation, that's the only true 9 that we can afford. because he would be free. But only because we're broke and only because we have no financial fair play. Otherwise, I would never say Vlahovic. But I have to because, unfortunately, that's just our reality. And Barcelona says, "Be fair, Coach him. I really hope he's not here till retirement." I guess Barcelona, you're answering. Be fair, B4K Chemas. What's called comment about. I don't know what our obsession with Alvarez is. We need a box finisher. All I've seen is free kicks. No, I think you're answering to this. Do you ever think we'd ever sell FDJ, or do you think he will be here till retirement? Given the contract that we just signed with him, what was it, 2030, 2031? Let me see. Forgot. I think he signed until 2029. So that's 3 more years. Right now, Frankie is what, 27? 28. So that's until 2029, which would be one day before he turns 32. My guess is he will be at least until 32 because I don't see Frankie wanting to leave. I mean, even when Barcelona were trying to push him out, he was still like, nope, I got a contract, I'm staying. And now that his contract has been extended, there's no way he's going to want to leave. So I see him staying at least until his contract expires in 2029. I don't see him leaving, assuming, of course, that Barcelona don't actually extend it even more, which, of course, we're going to have to wait and see. Mr. Gastro says, is it bad that I want Leao at Barca? I mean, on paper, it makes great sense. He's an incredible left winger, tall, strong, physical, very fast for his size, great 1v1, great dribbling skills, great crosses, great shots. I mean, he's the kind of player that can single-handedly win you a match. Just give him the ball and he can just bulldoze through a defense, take on 3-4 defenders and score a goal. He can single-handedly win you a match. So on paper, it makes total sense. But theory and practice are two different things. And in practice, he just has not been consistent. And that's the problem with Leao. Now, on one hand, he hasn't been consistent. On the other hand, it is AC Milan. So I don't know if he's just not a consistent player in general, or if he's not being consistent because, well, AC Milan hasn't been inconsistent, right? AC Milan haven't been good in God knows how long, since the early 2000s. So, I don't know. For me, it's a tough one. Let's see. Kyle says, hi, Mo. Hi, Barca fam. Just wanted to share. Hold on. My eyes itchy. I got a lot of allergies. That I had a wonderful weekend. Went to see Messi play and score a brace this Saturday. Then came back home. Saw how Atletico Madrid lost yet another final. That does sound like an amazing weekend, especially since you got to go and see Messi. So congratulations, my friends. That does sound absolutely amazing. And as far as Atletico, oh yeah, it's always fun to see them bottling another final. By the way, speaking of Atletico Madrid, I'm like doing this crazy thing on my other computer. But here's the thing: Atletico Madrid, as far as like the club itself, they need to understand that they have reached the end of the road with El Cholo Simeone. And I tell you why. El Cholo Simeone has taken Atletico Madrid to the next level. No one can deny that. Since he took over Atletico Madrid, they have won, I think, a couple of 2 La Liga titles. He's taken them to a Champions League final. He's now taking them to a semifinal. He's definitely taking them to the next step, as opposed to where they were before his arrival. However, the jump in quality, even though it exists, is not as big enough as where they need to be. They're better. They're one step better than what they used to be before, but they're not amongst the elites of Europe. And this is why I mean Atletico Madrid should realize that it's time for a change. They should be like, thank you, Cholo. You took us to the next step. You made us much better. You made us much bigger, which that in turn attracted more investment because right now they have partnered up with, I think it's called Polo or something like that. They have so much money. Also, thanks to El Cholo's efforts, it has also attracted players, right? Like Julian, like Lukman, etc., etc. Players who before probably would have never considered Atletico, but now they do because they are a step ahead. So thanks to him, he's helped the club grow, both on and off the field. But now, if they truly want to make the final jump into elite football, into being amongst the greatest, Barca, Madrid, etc., it's time for a new coach because they have a squad they could easily be competing for all trophies. But instead, they got knocked out of the Copa, Spanish Super Cup. They're 20 something points behind Barca in La Liga. They lost at the hands of Real Sociedad, not Madrid, not Barcelona, Real Sociedad in the final of the Copa del Rey. And yeah, they are in the semifinal of the Champions League, but that's pretty much the only competition they're alive in. And who's to tell you that they're not going to get humiliated there? So if Atletico Madrid really want to make that final jump into elite football, it's time to thank El Cholo for what he has done so far and bid him adieu. Adieu to you and you and you and you. And now let's return to the news because, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to talk about Eduardo Conceicao, someone we've been talking about several times this past week or past 2 weeks. Someone who is 16 years old, left winger, currently plays for Palmeiras under 20, also an international with Brazil's under 17. Someone who shined during the South American Under 17 trophy. And as such, he has caught the attention of many clubs, including FC Barcelona, who have been tracking him for quite some time. And in fact, as I told you in a previous video, Barcelona have already started making moves and started talks to try to sign the 16-year-old Brazilian who is considered one of the most promising talents in all of Brazil. Now, what's the new news? Because you already knew this, I already talked about this in previous videos. The new news is that Conceição has rejected Manchester City. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Manchester City were making a huge push for the signing of Conceição. They were willing to offer, or they offered 40 million euros to Palmeiras, but Conceição said no. No, 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 thank you. And why is that? Well, it's because Conceição wants to hear Barcelona's offer first before he considers any other club. Now, this doesn't mean that he won't listen to other clubs. No, he wants to listen to Barca's first and then consider other clubs. So for now, Conceição is saying, nobody talk to me. I'm waiting for Barca. Once I talk to them, well, you can make your offer. So far, Conceição has rejected Man City's offer. And all of this is thanks to, well, Deco. Because just like we criticize him when he does some pretty dumb shit, we also got to give him props when he does pretty good things. Because Deco has moved quickly. And given that Deco has a lot of connections in the Brazilian market, he immediately contacted the director of the Palmeiras Academy, which is the academy that Conceição came through, and immediately expressed his interest to sign Conceição. He's even met with Conceição and his entourage. And now, of course, we know that Conceição has switched agents and he has signed with Giuliano Bertolucci, someone who has a very direct connection with Barca, more specifically Laporta and Deco. So thanks to Deco's quick action, Conceição has now rejected Man City and is awaiting Barcelona's offer. Now, very important for you to know, Conceição is 16 years old, and as you know, per FIFA's rules, you can't sign players from outside of Europe who are under 18. Eduardo Conceicao will not turn 18 until January of 2028. So even if Barcelona reach an agreement to sign Conceição, he's not going to be coming to Barca until January of 2028. So this is a future signing, not something that's going to happen this summer or the next winter or even the next summer. It won't be until the winter of 2028, which is when Conceição will turn 18 years old. But nonetheless, the good news is that one of the most promising Brazilian players right now is awaiting Barcelona's offer. We'll see whether Barcelona can close in on this deal or whether it's going to turn out another, I don't know, Endrick or Estebao or all the other players that we missed. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Bradley Barcola because we have some bombshell news in regards to the French attacker. All right, let's see. Where did it leave off? Zaidi says, hey, Mo, I'd like to see Barcola at Barca if it's true, because his agent could use this as a tactic for better contract at PSG. However, I like these podcasts. We are all family all together, one and only. Amen, my friend. And yes, we are going to talk about Barcola, oui, monsieur. But that's after the comment section. And Nulson MSN says, hi, Mo. Trust you are keeping well. What do you think of having Vinny Jr. in a Barca squad? And will you pick him over Rafinha? Be honest, please. Okay, so this question is a little bit more complicated than just answering yes or no. Because on paper, yes, I would pick Vinny over Rafinha. Of course I would. I think Vinny is probably the best left winger in the world, or at least top 3. So yes, on paper, 100%. But in practice, no. And here's why. Not because he's a Madrid player, but because of who he is as a person. He's an incredibly toxic person. You see it week in, week out. Every single week, month after month, year after year, it's always the same shit with him. Constantly diving, constantly fighting with the refs, constantly fighting with opposing players, constantly fighting with the opposing coach, constantly fighting with the opposing fans. He's even got into it with his own teammates. He's even got into it with his own coach, with Ancelotti and Xabi Alonso. Incredibly problematic player with a very problematic personality. And a player like that, no matter how skilled they are, is very dangerous to put into your locker room. And, well, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what's happening with Madrid, right? They have an incredible squad, some of the best players in the world. Mbappe, Vinicius, Birmingham, Valverde, you name it. And yet, they're failing left and right. Why? Because they have incredibly toxic players with very problematic personalities. And Vinny is one of them. So on paper, absolutely I would. He is, to me, the best left winger in the world. But in practice, hell no. Because that kind of personality will detonate any locker room. And a fractured locker room, well, it's a worthless locker room. It doesn't matter who you have. Perfect example is Real Madrid. Like, we are living through the proof that a fractured locker room is a worthless locker room, regardless of who's in it. I don't care if you clone Messi 10 times, or I guess 11 times. One of them, he can't be a goalkeeper. It's too short. 10 times. I don't know, player, if you clone Messi 10 times and you have 10 Messis and, I don't know, Neuer or Courtois as your goalkeeper, if all these players have problems with each other and have ego problems and they're all divas, it's just not going to work. So on paper, absolutely I would pick Vinny. In practice, in real life, fuck no. That guy's a clown. He belongs in a circus. Cherno says, hi, Mo. Watching from Sukuta, the Gambia, West Africa. Thank you very much for keeping us updated on our beloved club, Visca Barça, my friend. Thank you for watching. Thank all of you, my Barça family, for watching. And Edward Hamilton says, hi, Mo, one game at a time. But after Celta, do you think we should kick some Getafe ass on Saturday, kick them back? I mean, on paper, okay. On paper, we should be easily able to beat Getafe. In practice, Getafe is always a very tough team. Not because they have quality, not because they are tactically so able, or because their players are amazing. It's because, we all know how. Oh my God, what's that disgusting guy that currently coaches them? mm, Bordalas. Of course, we all know how Bordalas plays. Very um, disgusting football. Just destroy, destroy, destroy. Uh, Foul, waste time, dive, pretend you're gonna die because someone kicked you. Just horrendous football. And you know, it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be an easy match, but we should be able to beat them at least if it's at least 1-0, right? And Barca got culture says Mo. You gotta remember when teams play us, they play like their life depend on it. That's true. And Lorenzo says, give us Barcola and Bastoni. Rafinha will play as our number 9, and we would be good. I don't think Rafinha's cut out for the number 9. I know a lot of people keep suggesting that. There's a reason he's never been played in that position because he doesn't have that instinct. Rafinha's not really um, doesn't have that number 9 instinct, right? That killer instinct in the box, where as long as you get in the ball in the box, he's going to score. It's just not him. And that's not saying anything bad about Rafinha. I don't think Lamine has that right now. And Lamine, to me, is one of the best players in the world, right? I don't think Pedri has that. And Pedri, to me, is the best midfielder in the world. So it's not nothing bad. It's not to say that Rafinha is bad, but that's just not his profile, and that's okay. Same way he's not a goalkeeper doesn't mean he's bad, but it's just not his profile. So, this is not FIFA. And what I mean by FIFA, this is not a video game where you could just put whatever player in whatever position and think it's just gonna work out, right? It's a lot more complicated than that. And says, hi, Mo, personal question here. Do you have a girlfriend or so from Sweden? Do I have a girlfriend from Sweden? No. Do I have a girlfriend? Yes. Does that make sense? And Java the Hut says, if we have the same embarrassment next season in the Champions League or the season after, do you think we should consider changing coaches? And if yes, who could replace Flick? Here's the thing. Just saying if we get eliminated out of the Champions League, is that enough for me? No. It's how we get eliminated that matters on whether we need a new coach or not. Okay. So I don't think I can answer that question because on a general basis, again, you can't really just judge. The parameter or the requirement cannot just be if we're eliminated, is he fired or not? You have to look at the full picture. How do we do in La Liga? And I don't just mean did we win it or not. How did we win it? That matters too, right? Because even when we won La Liga with Xabi, I was still a proponent of switching coaches. Because not only winning La Liga matters, but how do you win it also matters. How are we doing a Copa del Rey? Where did we finish? Also, how do we get there? AKA, how do we play? Same thing with Champions League. How far did we make it? Also, how did we get eliminated? And how did we make it there? It's a lot of factors. You can't just base such a big decision on just one factor and make it that simplistic where, out of the Champions League, you're fired. We win the Champions League, you're still. You have to take into consideration the other competitions. You have to take into consideration how the team played in those competitions, not just what the team accomplished in those competitions. And Cherno says, I heard that Super La Liga Prezi spout out another shit again. He said he's sure that he will not win all our matches, however, he should not quit fighting for the title. How true is that news? I don't know. I haven't seen those. But I mean, even if he said so, I don't think it's a bad statement. I mean, ideally, you want, as a president of a league, whether it be the Premier, La Liga, Serie A, whatever, League, ideally, as a president, you would want La Liga to be decided on the final day of the league. Because that keeps La league interesting. Not only, and of course, an interesting league is going to draw a lot more viewers, which draws a lot more sponsors, which draws a lot more money. So I don't know if he said that or not. I haven't checked, but even if he did, I don't think it's something bad. I mean, as a league president myself, I would definitely want that. I would not want La Liga to be over 5, 6, 7 weeks before it's supposed to be done. I would want it to end on the final day. Remember that when Man City wins it with what's his name? El Kun Agüero. This was several years ago, and it's like they literally had two matches going, and City needed to win, and it's like I can't remember who the other two teams that were playing, but the other match ends, and they were champions. The match ends, and they were champions, and then El Kun Agüero at the 96th, 97th minute scores a goal, and all of a sudden City is champion, right? And that was literally the final day. Not only the final day of the Premier, it was the final seconds of the final day of the Premier. And that's when it was decided. So as a league president, you always want that because that keeps things interesting, which means more money. So I don't think it's a bad statement. Marcel says, my brother Mo, it's Marcel. Happy to finally catch the live. I have to run a meeting, but now, how likely are we actually sign Barcola? I think he has potential and will help Lamine out a lot. Good question, my friend. And with that, let's segue into the next bit of news because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, as the title suggests, Bradley Barcola has been offered to Barcelona by his current agent. And no, this is not a clickbait. No, this is not fake news. This is real. Now, Barcola, you might know of it, but in case you don't, PSG left winger, probably one of the most destabilizing left wingers currently in the world. 24 years old with a contract that expires in 2028, a player that any team would love to have because he is just full of quality, dribbling, speed, explosiveness, passing, shooting, you name it. This guy has it. And well, so far, PSG have been working very hard on renewing his contract because, again, it expires in 2028, which means he'll be entering the final 2 years come this summer. However, those talks have stalled. Now, Barcola did something interesting a few months ago, and that's he broke his ties to his former agent, the super agent, Jorge Mendes, who represents people like Lamine Yamal. And now he has signed an agent that we have dealt with before, the one and only, the snake, Moussa Sissoko, who is the agent of Ousmane Dembele. Now, since Barcola signed with Sissoko, the negotiation with PSG have stalled. It looks like Barcola is looking for an exit out of the Parisian team. And well, today the bombshell news was that Sissoko picked up the phone and offered Barcelona the opportunity to sign Bradley Barcola. Now, all things set aside, honestly, if this could happen, I would absolutely jump on it. I will myself fly to Paris, pick this guy up, take him to the airport, fly him first class to Barcelona, pick him up from the Barcelona airport and drive him to the Ciudad Esportiva because Barcola on the left with Lamine on the right would be an absolute killer of a combo. I mean, we're talking about guaranteed being able to compete in the Champions League. Winning it, whole different story. But with Barcola and Lamine, I think we would be doing a lot of damage. But of course, that's everything set aside. Now, reality, things become a lot more complicated. Why? Because, of course, Barcola is, well, to PSG, non-transferable, right? An incredibly important player, just like Dembele is, just like Kvaratskhelia, just like Doué. Also, they're saying PSG would want a minimum of 80 million euros, maybe even more, because Liverpool already tried to sign Barcola in the past, and PSG demanded 100 million euros. So here's where things get dicey. Because, of course, given Barcelona's financial situation, given our financial fair play, signing a player for 80 mil, potentially even more, well, it becomes very difficult. And not impossible, but highly improbable. Now, what are the conditions where Barcola could potentially be signed by Barcelona? Number one, if PSG all of a sudden find themselves this summer obligated to sell in order to address financial fair play. As we know, PSG has always had problems with financial fair play where they're constantly spending way too much. So if PSG all of a sudden find themselves needing to offload players to meet financial fair play requirements, this could be an opportunity for Barcelona to sign Barcola, because perhaps the need to sell offload players could maybe force PSG to negotiate a lower price. Obviously, it's still not going to be cheap. Maybe 60 million, maybe 70. Makes things a little bit easier for Barcelona. Number two, if Barcelona make some big sales this summer and generate enough cash to sign Barcola, this could be another scenario where Barcelona could sign the Frenchman. And finally, maybe with the increased profits of the Camp Nou, even though this one's a little bit more difficult because the Camp Nou is going to, as you know from a previous video, is going to reach the capacity of 70,000 people beginning of next season. Of course, by then, the summer transfer market would most likely be closed. Then it's going to reach 80,000 people by the end of December. So maybe with those increased profits, we can sign them in the winter. And of course, it's not going to reach full capacity until the end of next season. But then, of course, we're talking about signing Barcola in the summer of 2027, which honestly, if Barcola doesn't renew and doesn't go anywhere, I would definitely make a bid for him next summer, because by then he would be entering his final year of his contract. So he should be a lot cheaper. Not to mention, we would have a full season of playing at the Camp Nou with half of it 70,000 people capacity and the other half with 80,000 people capacity. So I see that more likely next summer. This summer, I see it less likely, but not impossible, but very difficult signing given the price. But of course, that's the news. Barcola offered to Barcelona. I personally would sign him in a heartbeat, but of course, our financial situation makes things difficult. My question to you is, what do you think about Barcola? If you were Deco, would you sign him? Yes, no, maybe. Let me know down below in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. And with that, let's get back to the comment section. Then we're going to talk about Alejandro Balde. But first, we do have a donation. Let's talk a goal. Thank you so much, Sanjak, for the donation. That's very, very generous of you, as always, supporting the channel. But Sanjak says, I'm just tired of players linking to Barca. They know we're broke and we can't afford them. They just do it to get better contracts at their current clubs. Expectation, Alvarez, reality, Muriqi. You're not wrong. And I'll say this, which I forgot to add during the last segment. So hopefully people who watch this with chapters stay for a few more minutes before switching. But Sissoko is known to do this, right? Sissoko is known to stall renewals in hopes to accomplish two things. Either one, get a better contract from the current club, or two, get a transfer fee from another club. In other words, transfer his player to another club where he gets to make a commission, right? Because that's what he did with Dembele. Dembele was like, I want to renew. Barcelona's like, we don't want this guy. Xabi's like, no, please sign him. Barcelona's like, all right, cool. So Xabi goes out on the limb for that snake, Dembele. So Barcelona try to renew him. Sissoko stalls. And while he's stalling, he goes around offering Dembele all around Europe. The first time it doesn't work. Nobody wanted to touch Dembele. So he ends up agreeing to renew. Second time around, again, Dembele says, I want to renew. Barcelona start negotiating. Sissoko stalls. Again, while he's stalling, he goes around offering Dembele to all of Europe. This time around, Dembele's performance had improved thanks to Xabi. And PSG's like, all right, we'll take him off your hands. And Sissoko manages a transfer where he, of course, made a shitload of money. So Sissoko is known to do that, is known to stall renewals to either get a better offer from the current club or to get a good transfer to another club where he gets to make a shitload of money by earning a bonus. So he is known to do that. So this, of course, I'm sure he's using this as a bargaining chip to try to extract something from PSG. But look, if Barcola still says, I don't care that PSG are offering more money, I want to go somewhere else, well, it would still be a possibility. Because remember, more money doesn't necessarily equal happiness after a certain point. And in fact, science has already proved this, right? Um, there's a certain point of money where the more money we make, the happier we are until you get to that point. After that point, more money doesn't make you happier. And that point obviously varies from country to country, it varies from economy to economy. But that point is usually when not only are your basic needs met, but also your luxuries, right? You have a nice house, a big, nice house in a nice area. You have a nice car, maybe nice clothes. You can afford to go on vacations. You can afford to buy expensive things. You can afford to go out and eat at expensive places. You can afford to send your kids to good schools. And once you've reached that point, more and more money is not going to make you any happier because, okay, you have a Ferrari. Wow, the second Ferrari is going to make you happier? Probably not. What, a third, a fourth, fifth one? Probably not. Right? So there's a point, and it's again scientifically proven, where once you reach that point, the more money you make is not going to make you happier. And that's very true for players, right? That's why we see players, for example, Rashford, who was willing to take a pay cut to come to Barca. Cancelo, who's willing to take a pay cut to come to Barca. Rafinha, who accepted a lower salary to come to Barca. Lewandowski, who accepted a lower salary to come to Barca. Kunde, etc., etc., etc. The examples are why? Because they've already made a shitload of money. They already got everything a human can want and more. So the difference between making 8 million versus 10 million is not that big of a difference to them because 8 million is still a shitload of money. But the difference is, okay, do I make less, $8 million, but I play at a club that I want to be at, that I dream of being at? Or do I make 2 million more, 10, but play at a club that I'm not interested in? They're going to choose the 8 mil because at the end of the day, it's still a shitload of money. It's not like they're saying no to 10 million and instead accepting $100,000, right? That's not the case. They're still making a shitload of money. The difference is they're making a shitload of money and they're very happy, as opposed to making a little bit more money, but you're not happy. So if Barcola ends up insisting, no, I want to go to somewhere else that's not PSG, that could defeat the whole Musa Sissoko trying to use this or offering Barcola to Barcelona as a bargaining chip. But of course, that still leaves the whole PSG are going to want a lot of money for him. So, of course, reality, my friend, is a bitch, or at least to us, not to other clubs. But thank you. Thank you for your donation. Maybe I'll put that towards the piggy bank, Barca's piggy bank, to help sign Barcola, or at least someone that's not Moriki, because God, if we sign Moriki, no offense to Moriki, he's the second highest scorer in La Liga right after Mbappe. Mbappe has 23 goals. Moriki has 21. But that's like signing Braithwaite, like all over again. Not to say that Moriki is as good as Braithwaite, but, you know, that's like going back to signing mid-level players for Barca, and it's just, we can't be doing that. Let's see. El pollito. Los pollitos dicen pío, pío, pío. Says, if Barcola stay with Jorge Mendes, then yes, I will get him. But since Barcola is now with Musa Sissoko, I will not take him because Sissoko demands a lot of money. Yeah, I don't trust Sissoko for anything. Like, and I don't know this guy personally, but just based on the dealings with him with Dembele, I feel like this guy would sell his mother for a signing bonus. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I hope so, because yeah, he just comes off to me like very cutthroat. But again, that is his job. You know, to get what's the best interest of his player. You know, his loyalty is not with the clubs. His loyalty is with the player. It's kind of like when John Laporta got all mad about the agent of, what's his name? Dro. Fuck you getting mad about? Like, Dro and his agent owe you no loyalty. Like, this is a business. This is employment. You made a shitty offer because you and Deco are clowns. And PSG made a much better offer. He went with a much better offer. What the fuck did you expect? I still think it's a mistake because Dro could have better development at Barca. But my God, like, come on. Can't blame the agent for that. Uh, Gold CJ Messi says, I know it's completely off target, but apparently Nico's regretted not coming yet again. I hope the club goes for him so he can stay at Bilbao, the bum. We already talked about this in a previous video several weeks ago. Yeah, it is true. He is regretting it. But honestly, I don't feel bad because how stupid can you be? Like, bro, you're at Athletic Club de Bilbao, okay? With all due respect to them, actually, fuck them. I don't care about respecting them. They're a mid-tier club. They're a mid-table club at best. It's a club that wins a trophy every 2-3 decades. And I don't. And yeah, sure, your family's from there. You were born and raised there. Your parents work at the club. Your older brother works at is a player with the club. So I guess yeah, he does work at the club too. And sure, all great. But bro, it's still a mid-tier club. Like we're not talking about you had the chance to sign for Barca and you said no, and you went and signed for Madrid or I don't know, Man City or Arsenal or Bayern or PSG. It's like no, you had the chance to sign for Barca, and you ended up at Athletic Club, a mid-tier club. And I don't care how much. Yeah, they offered you a lot of money, 10-year contract, but like I said, more money after a certain point doesn't mean happiness because they offer him a lot more money than Barcelona could. And look at him, he's unhappy. So again, perfect proof that more money doesn't equal happiness after a certain point. But anyways, let's do the last bit of news. And then we are going to do more comments. Well, let's talk about Alejandro Balde because reports out of England stating that Aston Villa are ready to make a 60 million euro offer for the Barcelona Academy graduate. Now, after Premier League sources posted this report, the club, and I don't mean Barca, I mean Aston Villa, denied these rumors, stating that no, they're not looking to make a 60 million euro offer for Balde. In fact, they're not even looking to sign Balde because they're happy with their current fullback. So you might ask, well, why are you even telling us this? Well, because I saw the reports, I saw it being spread on social media, and I saw a lot of people talking about it. And of course, my duty is not only to bring you true reports, my duty is also to tell you about, well, untrue reports when they start spreading. That way, when you come across one and read that Aston Villa are ready to make 60 million euro offer for Balde, you know, okay, this is not true. Now, Aston Villa did deny this, but you know what Barca has not denied is that they are willing to hear offers for Alejandro Balde. Something I told you about in previous videos. This doesn't mean Balde is on sale. Doesn't mean Barcelona are going to place him on the market and try to offload him. This just means that he's no longer non-transferable. Non-transferable and willing to hear offers, believe it or not, are two different things. Non-transferable, someone like Lamine, someone like Pedri, that means it doesn't matter what the offer is. If someone comes and says 500 million for Lamine, sorry, we don't care. He's not for sale. Alejandro Balde, on the other hand, he's not for sale. We're not placing him on the market. But if someone comes and says, I don't know, 100 million, all of a sudden you're like, all right, let's sit down and talk about this. In the case of Lamine, there's no talking. It doesn't matter what the amount is. In the case of Balde, if it's a big one, well, let's talk about it. Let's hear him out. Why? Well, that's because, of course, Balde's performance has gone down substantially this season. Not to mention, he's had a few injuries that have kept him out several matches this season as well. And of course, there is the rise of Cancelo. In my opinion, should Barca keep Cancelo? Yes, he's been doing great. But I wouldn't sell Balde in order to keep Cancelo. Let's not forget, Cancelo is 32 years old. He might give us another good 2 seasons. Balde is only 21. He got another 12, 13 years in him. So I wouldn't trade one for the other. I would rather keep both, have Cancelo start, and hopefully this will light a fire under Balde's ass, and he can start competing again and recover his form. But I wouldn't trade one for the other. I think that would be a stupid mistake because in 2 seasons, we're going to be back like, oh, we need a replacement for Cancelo now, right? That's what I would do. But just know, Aston Villa denying those rumors. They are not making an offer for 60 million for Balde. Barcelona willing to hear offers for Balde. He's He's not for sale, but they're willing to hear offers. And of course, as far as Balde himself, he's not looking to leave. He wants to stay. He wants to fight for his position, and he wants to recover his form, which I truly hope he does, because this season, boy, oh boy, need to step your shit up, brother. Step your shit up. Anyways, that is all the news for this live. Let's do some comments, and then we'll end this. And Yomidora says, hey, Mo, now I see why Barca should not sign Rashford. His diva attitude is not cutting it. Any rush to the Barcola, any truth to the Barcola story. So we just talked about Barcola. As far as Rashford, I don't know if it's diva attitude. I think he's just lost that hunger. You know, that hunger to win, to succeed, to be the best. I feel like he lost that. And now it's more like, all right, I'm playing, it's cool, I make money, whatever. Why not? But he's lost that hunger. And that hunger is what drives players, right? That want, that need to want to be the best, to win, to like, that's what truly separates players. Because on paper, Rashford is probably one of the best attackers in the world, right? He has the speed, the dribbling, the power, and his shot is fucking out of this world. He could easily be one of the best. But because he lost that hunger, he doesn't have that extra push. Because as we've seen, talent alone is not enough, right? And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because right now he could easily be the best. And JYD Group says, hello, Mo. Thank God I'm able to join your live at work at the moment. Who is your favorite front three for next season? Well, thank you for joining first from work. I hope you don't get in trouble. Because if that can get you in trouble, just watch later, my friend. The stream will be there. Let's see. My front three would hopefully be Lamine, Coutinho, and then a center forward that we can sign. Definitely not Ferran and not Lewy, because as much as I love Lewy, his time is up. His time is up. And Mr. Tick says Barcola will be good signing for Barca, but it's very unlikely to happen. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Klaus says 250 million for Gerard Martin. Oh, man. That would be tough because on one hand, obviously 250 for Gerard Martin. I mean, hell yes. But on the other hand, I feel like Flick would not be happy about that because he really counts on Gerard Martin. About 250. Can you imagine? Obviously, that's not going to happen, but it would be cool. Bisca Michael says, hey, Mo, happy to see you again on live. Can you quickly list off for sure exits and who you would like to bring in as a realistic replacement for me, Osimhen for Lewy, and Lewa for Rashi? I don't think any of those two are realistic because Osimhen, Galatasaray signed for 75 mil, right? I think that's how much they paid for him. Let's see. Let's verify. Victor Osimhen. How much did they pay for him? Let's see. 75 mil. Yeah. So Galatasaray paid 75 mil. Now that's fixed. I imagine there's some variables maybe. Let's see. Let me see if there's some variables. How much did they sign him? 75 mil. I'm not seeing if there's any variables, but 75 mil on a 4-year contract. You know what that means? That means that they're gonna want at least a profit. If there's 3 years left on his contract, they're gonna want at least 90. At least. Not to mention, I don't think Galatasaray are looking to sell Osimhen. I mean, he's their star right now. He's putting out insane numbers for them. So that means that if they were open to sell, would be 90 mil minimum. But since they're probably not going to be open to sell him, expect even more. So I don't think that's a realistic replacement. I know a lot of people think it is, but I don't think so. Leao, they're saying 50 mil. I don't know. I feel like he's another Rashford. Incredibly skilled, very inconsistent. So I don't know if Leao would be the answer as well. Now, for sure exits, I see Ansu leaving for sure if he agrees to negotiate his salary, accept something lower since Monaco are now ready to sign him. I see Christensen. If Barcelona don't make him another offer, I see him leaving. I'm starting to see Lewy more and more likely to leave now than staying. And then, of course, that leaves the question for Ferran, which I don't see him leaving. Olmo, even less likely, much, much less likely. So that's what I would see right now for sure. Lewy, Christensen, assuming Barca don't make him a new offer. And then, of course, Ansu. Let's see. What else? David says, Mo, I hope we sign Barcola just so I can get to say Barco Barcelona. Oh, man, I wish, bro. I wish because I think he would be a huge addition. And B says, Mo, how realistic is it to get Aslani and another striker to give him time to adapt? That's tough. That's tough. Because it will all depend. Because the goal is one left winger, one center back, and one center forward, right? So if we're talking now signing two players for the center forward position, it's all going to depend how much money left after we sign the center back, we sign a left winger, and we sign Aslani. Because now you have 1-1-1-1. Now you're talking about extra players. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see Barcelona doing that. If Barcelona sign Aslani, it would be because Lewy agreed to renew for one more season, or Ferran, or Lewy leaves and they keep Ferran, and then Aslani's like Ferran sub. That's where I would see. But two center forwards. Plus, remember, the reason we would be able to afford Aslani is because he's cheap. But then you're talking about signing a starter, or I should say, the reason we would be bringing Aslani would be because he would be the cheap option. But then to sign another one to be the starter, that means you would have to fork out a lot of money, which, again, the reason you brought Aslani is because you couldn't fork out a lot of money. So how are you going to fork out a lot of money to bring someone else if you couldn't do it to begin with, right? So I just don't see it. Let's see. What else? Coromo says, good morning, bro. Today I'm happy because I make it to the podcast and Barcola is the best man for the role. Well, thank you, my friend, for making it. I appreciate you. And Sid says, I'm saying it right. Barcola and Lamine will be a threat to all the teams in Europe. Absolutely. Let's see. Solomon Jeta says, hi, Mo. Before PSG kill us with huge transfer fee, Rafael Leao is available for cheap option. He will be a monster in the squad. Yeah, but you're talking about Barcola and Leao. I would take Barcola over Leao any day of the week and month and year and decade and century and all of it. Millennium. Let's see. Someone just asked, where did it go? I lost that message. Damn it. Let's see. Right here. Glenn says, hey, Mo, can we get an update on the B team league position? I got you. I'm even going to share my screen with you. Let's see. Segunda División B. All right, here we go. Oh my God, my head itches like crazy. Because of the hat, not because I got lice. I promise. Come on. Bam bam beedum bam bam beedum bam. Right here, Segunda Federación. All right, there we go. Group 3. This is group. Let me see. What group is this? There you go. Group 3. All right. Got it. I'm going to share this with you. Voila. All right. So there is group 3. First place, San Andreu. Atlético Baleares in second. UD Poblanese in third. Alcoyano in fourth. Reus in 5th, and then Barça Athletic in 6th. Now, you see these green ones? These are the teams that qualified to the playoffs. Well, I think the first place gets automatically promoted, and then these other 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 get promoted to playoffs. So, Barça Athletic right now, they have 49 points, and Reus also has 49 points. Not to mention, Alcoyano has 51. So Barça Athletic are tied with 5th place and only 2 points behind 4th place. So Barça Athletic right now, they need to make it into 5th or 4th place to qualify to the playoffs. And obviously, if they win the playoffs, they get promoted. Here, the first place, San Andreu, they'll get automatically promoted to 3rd division. This is Group 2. We have Real Unión, Alavés B, UD Logroñés, UTB, and Tudelano. And we have Group 1, Fabril, Real Oviedo, UD Orense, Real Avila, and Numancia. Fabril, I think that's the reserve team for Deportivo La Coruña, I think. I could be wrong. But anyways, that's the update. Let's do one more comment and then we'll end this. But Ronnie says, Rooney at the left wing or right wing, Yamada to 10 for next season. We'll see. Rooney still not fully there. But hopefully he'll be around and get more and more minutes, especially now towards the end of the season. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we shall conclude this amazing podcast. And I say amazing not because I'm trying to say that I did an amazing job, but amazing because I got to interact with you, my lovely Barca News family. As always, podcast days are my favorite days. All right, thank you guys. I will be posting another video after this, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.